Welcome to Modern Tech and Transformation with Resolve Tech Solutions. I'm Carla Hartman, and I'm back with Michael Brown, Director of Architecture. Last week, we talked a lot about just general AI, its uses, how to use it in your business, what it takes to do AI in your business, the people, the process, and technology. And this week, we're going to focus more on cloud and how it relates to using AI. Michael, thank you for joining again.
Absolutely.
And let's jump in to talk about what you think the different cloud providers are doing with AI. Who do you think is doing really cool stuff? And we'll dive in from there.
Yeah, I don't think there's a simple answer to that. What we do know is that everyone from Oracle and even IBM, right, IBM Watson, everyone is investing massive amounts of capital and people into AI, right? And it's really around a couple of different things. It's around building frameworks to make it development of AI faster. It's infrastructure for training AI. We can definitely have a conversation about that. And it's an infrastructure to be able to run the AI models. So the idea is we're at the phase of adoption to where we have to figure out as many ways as possible to lower the barrier of entry for people to be able to start adopting AI. And I think that's really where, after that optimizes and matures, over the next, year to 18 months, I really think that's when we're going to see really broad, visible adoption of AI. Because the technology is already moving so fast that it's hard to even watch. It's hard to even see how fast it's moving. But, the ecosystem and the business and the pillars haven't caught up with it. And so I think, it's going to take a little time to figure that out.
So let's talk about, I call them the big four, right? Amazon has the biggest market share when it comes to cloud. Azure, Microsoft is right behind Amazon AWS. And then Google Cloud has made a huge push in the past, probably, I'd say 12 months. I see them picking up more market share. And lastly, Oracle Cloud, which we'll get to last. But let's talk about AWS. Do you think they're going to stay as a front runner? Do you think they're keeping up with AI? What are they doing cool with AI that you've seen?
Yeah, Amazon, and I have, these are obviously my personal opinions. I mean, I think in the cloud race, Amazon had such a head start in the very beginning. Like they were doing cloud for almost 6 years before anybody even started doing cloud again, behind them. And I think that head start in Amazon's consistent, investment and focus, right? They've never let up on the gas. They continue to invest. So I don't think anyone's ever going to actually catch them, as far as size and scope and market share. But that doesn't stop anybody from trying, right? Everybody, so Microsoft is...
Azure's, they have quite a big...
Oh, no, it's huge. Yeah. No, that's what I mean. No one told Microsoft that. They're continuing to invest, and what's interesting is when you watch, especially Amazon and Azure, you see Amazon building, fundamental systems, fundamental frameworks, things that help companies build AI and adopt AI, and you see Microsoft. Not that they're not doing that, but Microsoft is building more consumable AI, things that it makes it easier to consume. Their tools are easier, more approachable.
What kind of tools do you think? Like, what are some tools you think are more approachable?
Well, so for example, like when you get into the data lake world, because that's one of, anytime you want to do AI, you have to deal with data first, right? You don't have AI without data. And so just simple things like when I log into Amazon and I want to start manipulating data, I have tools like Glue and I've got their console. Their UI or their GUI to be able to manipulate data came much later. Azure flat out came out. They had Databricks, which is a third-party tool. Made it super simple to be able to grab data and manipulate it in a graphical way and use the Azure cloud to be able to do the processing. So there was, just things like that. Take that and just multiply it, multiple times. And Microsoft has great interfaces and great ways to interact. And Azure builds, and Amazon seems to build really robust, strong, foundational capabilities. And so if you could ever marry the two of them, it would just be something.
Yeah, it'd be game over.
Yeah, it'd be game over. But yeah, that's how they compete with each other. It's Amazon seems to use their maturity and their depth to build some things that just become very very usable and very stable over time. And Microsoft gets people in early with, oh wow, you can do this, and then they might not have the depth of capability that Amazon has, but it gets you in, and you're able to start using it and able to start getting something valuable pretty quick.
So Google's in the cloud now, and you talk about depth.
Yeah.
When you look at these language models, the depth of data Google's collected. I mean, it's been the leading search engine for so many years.
Yeah.
I think it'd be probably somewhat comical to see some of the stuff people have typed into Google, right? And terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
And now they're making a bigger push into their cloud.
Yeah.
And Google Cloud, where do you think they're going to fall? Have you seen anything from Google that you, in your opinion, are really impressed by?
Yeah, Google has always been sort of a niche player.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't I think Google is phenomenal, so I don't want anybody to think that I don't think great about Google, because their cloud platform is great, but they really focus on data and analytics, and now they're making a large push towards machine learning. Yeah. So I would not. I think this entire area is open, right? So when you talk about traditional cloud infrastructure and PaaS and SaaS, I think that the lanes have already been picked, right? Or they you kind of land 1, 2, and 3, and I think those are going to stay 1, 2, and 3 for a really long time. When you talk about AI, there's opportunity. Yes. Whoever comes out with the best capability and that allows people to adopt quickly, it could be a game changer, right? So I made a statement earlier. I said I don't think anybody's ever going to catch Amazon because of their that's in the traditional cloud space. When you talk about AI and capability and opportunity, I think it's up for anybody.
Google Cloud Next, they had some really interesting stuff going on. So I think Google is going to make a dent in AI just because of their data. And
that's where everything, you can't, what did I say? You can't have AI without data.
Yeah. And then, I know there was speculation. I want to get into the Oracle Cloud because, as we talked about in our last episode, we talked about Elon Musk briefly. And there was speculation he bought Twitter to have access to data so he could train his AI models, because Twitter is going to have a lot of natural language, right? A lot of conversational AI, a lot of what the human brain wants to put out there. And there might be some truth to that. We don't know, because x.ai has not come to market yet. He's just been teasing us for a few months, but he picked Oracle Cloud. So let's talk about why Oracle Cloud, because you hear AWS, you hear Azure, Google Cloud is really making a huge dent, but then he picked Oracle Cloud. So why do you think that is?
I don't know. I guess there's a couple things jump into my brain. One, Larry Ellison and Elon Musk are business partners. So Larry, I think publicly he put $1 billion in when they bought Twitter or X. So that's one side. But also I think Elon Musk is a very shrewd businessman, and he looks at where can I get the most bang for my buck. Because when you start talking about training these large language models, I guess some of the numbers I saw was ChatGPT took $3 to $5 million just to train it, and then that was 100. So they measure in how many parameters or how many features, parameters are in the model. So 3.5 ChatGPT 3.5 had 175 billion parameters. ChatGPT 4 has 200 billion parameters, and it was reported that model took over $100 million to train. That means computers, thousands of them, running for months to take all of that data and create that one model. I'll give that. Sometimes those numbers are too big, so I'll give a model. Earlier this year, I saw an article from Facebook or Meta, their Llama model. Right? So it's about 65 billion parameters. So that's how complex it is. That model trained on 2,048 NVIDIA cores for 21 days. And it took 21 days for that model to train. So you're looking at around, if you did that same thing in Amazon, it's about $2.4 million to train that model one time. Every time you train it again, it's another $2.4 million. another 21 days. And so when you look at if Elon Musk is wanting to build his own large language model to compete in that marketplace and to have competitive advantage, he's looking at the most performant platform. So, and Oracle has proven, because of their Oracle database and their back end, it's a newer cloud platform that doesn't have some of the possible, what we might think of as technical debt that, 10 years or 16 years of building infrastructure in cloud. They started kind of from a blank slate, and they already had what Amazon had been doing and what Azure had been doing. They're like, you know what, we're going to take the best of both. And they built some really performant stuff. And so also, if you go in and buy bulk up front, it gives you the ability to get that price down. So I guarantee he's looking at, how can I drive the price down to train these models? Because that's one of the, when you're looking at training models in general, that's one of the big costs that goes into it.
So of these providers that are creating tools along with their cloud infrastructure to support the AI tools, what are some tools you've used from the big four, and what do you like, what do you don't like? Let's dive into that.
Oh goodness, I don't know that I have enough experience, in that. So, I was using, if you want to build your own ChatGPT, right? I was trying to experiment, and I was being unsuccessful for the most part, trying to build one locally on my laptop or desktop. Was getting a little bit of success, but then Amazon did their general release with their platform called Bedrock. And Bedrock takes number one, it takes all of the infrastructure and the processes and the framework to build a large language model, and it automates it. Right? So when you log in, the first thing that you get to select is, which large language model do I want to use? Do I want to use Llama? Do I want to use ChatGPT? Do I want to use Claude? So you get to pick from a lot of the different large language models that are freely available right off the bat. You can pick more than one. So so I went through a little workshop that they published that allows me I could build an interface, and I could pick 3 or 4 of the large language models, ask a single question, and have each one of the models answer it to see how they answer it differently.
Who answered the best?
It depends. That's right. It depends on the question. But when you start, if you want to build something for yourself, for your enterprise, for your business, for your customers, for the chatbot, for your salespeople to help them answer questions about their products and their deals, being able to do something like that and build a community of bots and be able to iterate that, they just lowered the barrier of entry for somebody that was struggling. So I'm a technologist. I think I'm pretty smart about this, but doing it the not old-fashioned, but doing it the traditional way of putting everything together, piecing it all together, and compiling this and wiring this up and editing this text file, getting all that done, I was not being successful. Logged into Bedrock, 45 minutes later, I'm running multiple models. It was that quick. So that's the kind of force multiplier that I think that they're doing. And I know that inside of Azure, they've got I guess all the cloud providers have AI tools, for vision, for text to speech, for sentiment analysis. So you just feed it documents or feed it source documents, and it spits out the sentiment values, things like that. So they're making it much easier to consume in so many ways.
We've talked about in our business, we're actually working on a really cool use case around tying computer vision for a telco to all the AI tools, the data for field operations. So just seeing how your IoT devices and computer vision and AI data, training these models, it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this one. It's going to be neat, and it's going to just streamline operations in ways that they probably couldn't before. And then I also think of, what other use cases could this happen in? Even in insurance, a hurricane hits, you have a bunch of adjusters that go out, and computer vision, it could easily say, this piece of wood, find it in the database, this is how much it's going to cost, and the damage to claim for insurance by implementing AI, it's going to be huge.
So literally, the adjuster gets at the end of the street, sends this drone down the street, down one side, down the other, takes that data, goes back, maps it with GIS data, so that they know what was supposed to be there. Like, you can automate a lot of that process with high fidelity.
Mm-hmm.
And even just some mundane things. Like, so for a long time, you know, in automation, we used optical character recognition, right? Be able to take images and make text out of them. It's awful. It's always been awful. It's never really been that great. But now you can take that awful technology, that, you know, functionally awful technology that we still use anyway, and you can apply AI to it, and now it takes something that's to wow, 96%, right? It's really phenomenal being able to take things that, you know, we truly understand and be able to augment them and make them better.
Well, we're keeping this episode short and sweet. We wanted to focus on cloud, some of the tools. We will dive deeper into this at a later series date. But thank you all for joining us. Make sure you subscribe, and we will be back next week.